Hello everyone, I'm Wave, and today I thought I would talk about restoration patches, and more specifically, the restoration patches that are official, put out by the companies themselves rather than ones that are created by the fans. I do feel like visual novels and the topic of censorship or cut content comes up quite often when discussing them, and oftentimes people are asking, okay, where's the patch? And I know what you're going to say. Wave, probably like 90% of visual novel publishers don't even put out restoration patches, and you're probably right. But I do think that for the few companies that do actually put out restoration patches, I thought I would talk about what I would consider the good examples of it, the bad, and then also just the ones that are just downright odd. So let's get into it. First example I would like to talk about is obviously just the good examples of official restoration patches. And I think when I think of restoration patches and like just a general good reputation when it comes to providing translations for the visual novel community, I think none other than Nekonyan. It's the company that, if you've ever played Alcana, if you've ever played like one of the modern Ubisoft games like Senran Banka or like Riddle Joker, it's very simple. You buy the game on Steam, you go ahead and you go over to their website. You don't have to do anything else other than just find the page, click download, and then drag and drop it into the Steam files. It's very simple. It's very easily accessible for the consumer, and I genuinely appreciate it. Now, obviously, they've come into some sort of a roadblock in the way of the most recent Ubisoft game. They just officially, finally announced that they are going to be dropping it on just about every other visual novel storefront apart from Steam. So you can go ahead and go over to whichever store you want, grab it. You're not going to have to patch it, but I'm in the way of like whatever they have produced as of current. I do think it is a very feasible, not too intrusive way of asking the consumer to be able to go ahead and do a workaround for Steam's guidelines as of current and being able to get the full content of the game without having to, shell out any extra money or do too many like intricate amounts of steps in order to finally get that product in the hands of the consumer. Talking about what I would say is maybe a bad official restoration patch. And to some, you're probably going to be like, oh, well, that doesn't sound all that bad at all to me. I'm going to talk about my own personal experience with a game that a couple years back when it came out, or however long ago it came out, I was looking forward to reading it. A lot of people in the community were very excited about it. And while there was some controversies with the integrity of the actual translation of the game, my biggest hurdle when it came to actually playing this visual novel was the restoration patch. So similarly to, I guess, Wonderful Everyday Down the Rabbit Hole, where it's a game that's on Steam, you pay full price for it, and then it is probably only like 3 or 4 hours long, and then the extra 20-30 hours of the game is locked behind having to get a restoration patch. Wonderful Everyday is an example of a good way to go about it, I would say. And the visual novel that I'm talking about is Nukatashi, right? In the time since I have learned about Nukatashi, my opinion has changed on it. I originally thought it was just like the ultimate, like, you know what kind of a game, right? But as I heard more and more about it, it does seem like a genuinely good read. There's like an anime adaptation coming out soon, but the way that pushed me aside from reading Nukatashi, and now I don't know when I'm going to get around to reading Nukatashi, is the fact that the restoration patch is locked behind needing to make an account on the publisher's website and then downloading it. It's free, but it's just like an extra step. To me, I kind of found it as like a little bit of like a kick to the consumer, right? To where it's like, okay, well, I'm paying for the game, but then you want me to go to your website, make an account, and then I don't know, you do. Nekonyan has no need for me to go ahead and make an account, log in, and then get that. So it almost kind of like screams to me as like, okay, were you trying to get me, work me into being on your website and buying games directly through your store when, now I understand it, you don't want to have to pay the like 30% fee to Steam through every purchase, but at the same time, the fact that you're kind of like pushing people, forcing people to make an account on your store or like on your website in order to get the full game that they already paid for is a little scummy to me, right? So I would say Nukatashi and similar other like official restoration patches comes off as just being a little just bad, right? And then I want to talk about maybe an egregious example of an official restoration patch that I don't think many people probably are aware of, or who knows, maybe you guys do know. But as you might already be aware, I am a big fan of the Lose visual novels, so being the 2 out of the 3 that I have read, Monobeno and Maitetsu. I first got into it by reading the official Maitetsu translation that's available on Steam, and you know, in the time since, I've gotten a lot more lenient when it comes to I don't necessarily need a restoration patch. I'm fine with playing the game as is, and I don't want to say Maitetsu was my first example of that, but is definitely one of the examples that really sticks out to me. So if you were to buy the game, the English version of Maitetsu on Steam, you might hear rumblings of the fact that there is a like H patch or restoration patch. And if you were to do a little bit of research, you would find out that not only are you paying for the game on Steam, but then you need to, similarly to Nukatashi, make an account on the publisher's website in order to get access to the patch for Maitetsu. But it doesn't end there. So I've never even bothered to do it. I just saw people talking about it and was like, oh yeah, that's bad. So once you make an account on their website, you know, because of the type of content that the restoration patch contains, when you make a new account on their website, you are blocked from being able to see that type of content. So even if you have the direct link to the store page to buy that restoration patch, which by the way, yes, you have to pay for the restoration patch. I think it's like an additional $10 on top of the, you know, the game that you've already purchased, and you have to wait, I believe it's like 3 days of having your account on the website before you are able to then go into like your settings on the account, so that way you can actually look at that kind of content on their storefront. So then at that point you can finally purchase the restoration patch and apply it to the game. But also, the thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way about how the Maitetsu restoration patch was handled is that, kind of like, from the publisher's perspective, I get it. You've put time and resources into making the English localization for the game, but at the same time, as a consumer, it's kind of like, almost like they think you're stupid, right? Because if you know Luse's restoration patches, which are official for their games, and what's crazy now too is that, you know, in that time, I think since that localization came out, they had Maitetsu Last Run, which is an extended version. It's probably even longer than double the length of the original Maitetsu. Comes with an official restoration patch, which, even despite the company being closed down as of now, the publisher on the Japanese side of things still has all of the restoration patches available on their website for absolutely free. And in the same vein as what I would say with the good examples of official restoration patches, you don't need to make an account. They don't need access. They're not asking for your data. They're not asking for your support when it comes to trying to like nudge you towards buying things directly through their store. If you wanted to get the official restoration patch for My Tetsu Last Run, you can get it for absolutely free, comparatively to the English localization, which is asking you for like almost half, if not more than half, the price of the full price game in order to have content that you wouldn't know if you haven't read My Tetsu, but it's honestly not even like relevant to the story because of the way that those scenes are handled in My Tetsu. It's like additional content that's unlocked after clearing the route for any specific character. So it just feels very odd, and I would almost call it egregious in the way that that type of official restoration patch was handled, because it just feels even more so scummy and just like really puts you off from wanting to buy or wanting to even bother with getting the like so-called cut content, right? It's not the only example. I know I kind of came into a similar situation when I was reading Hoshizora no Momoria, where it's the same deal. You have to go and make an account and then go purchase the DLC for the Steam version, and it just like, I don't know. I know some other companies price it to where I did actually buy Saya no Uta during the winter sale for Jast, and I know that they price their games so that if there is like cut content, it's cheaper on Steam, and then you pay like that other excess of amount in their official storefront in order to get that, recover that cut content. But I don't know. I still think I much prefer, personally, the way that it's handled through, you know, Nekonyan, and that I'm just paying one fee, a one-time purchase for the game, and then when I want to go ahead and download the patch, it's a very simple and easy process, and I don't have to go ahead and do any sort of like extra hoops and hurdles, right? I don't know. I figured this would be like an interesting topic to discuss, because I feel like whenever something new comes out, or, you know, just in general, someone wants to start getting into a certain visual novel, one of the first questions you're going to be asking is, okay, well, is there a restoration patch I have to kind of like worry about? Am I not going to get all the content? Is it censored? Yada yada, right? So those have been my thoughts on the examples of official restoration patches. I've been Wave. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.